Volume 7 of RWBY certainly had its high points and its low points, starting off on a high note with Ironwood's plan to restore communications across all of Remnant, giving Ruby and the rest of the group a little bit of hope that maybe they could finally have a foothold and start fighting back against Salem. But then it only progressed downhill from there, with eventually Salem showing up at the end of it. And with all of these events happening, the music accompanying it reflected quite nicely with the events that were taking place, and we now know which ones are the favorites out of the entire volume, thanks to everyone who voted in the Volume 7 music poll. So in this video, we will go over the ranking of the 9 songs from Volume 7 and the top 5 scores that are included in the Volume 7 soundtrack, as decided by all of you, the voters. So starting off with the songs, in our 9th place spot with 85 votes, we have the song Celebrate. This is the song that first played when we got to Robin's rally at the beginning of episode 6, where everyone there seemed to have a pretty happy demeanor, thinking that Robin would win the election. Quite preemptive, considering what ended up happening with Watts' interference, Tyrion crashing the party, etc., but at the time everyone was very happy and celebrating. And to me, this is exactly what this song is. The lyrics don't really have much of a reference to the show itself or events that were happening, it's just a very happy celebration song. Though a couple of the lyrics do seem like they are celebrating to the point of self-detriment, which kind of does relate to what ended up happening at this party. They were celebrating preemptively, thinking that it was a sure thing, and it would have been, but you know, again, the interference that happened. Definitely a good song to accompany this scene, though. And then in our 8th place spot is actually the other song that played during Robin's rally. With 89 votes, we have the song Let's Get Real. And I honestly thought this one would have ranked a little bit higher on the list, considering the moment in which it started playing and the emotions that are kind of contained within these lyrics. This is the song that started playing during Nora and Ren's kiss, their first kiss, and the song seems to be sung from Nora's perspective, reflecting her emotions during that time, wanting Ren to let her in and let her know what exactly is going on with him. Frankly, I think we all want to know what exactly is going on with Ren, and we will definitely, probably find out in Volume 8. It was mentioned in the Volume 7 commentary that we will probably find out a little bit more. I have a Volume 7 commentary analysis coming at some point later on, but yeah, there is something to look forward to in Volume 8 for that, and we will hopefully find out a bit more about Renora, and they can make up a bit better by the end of the volume. But certainly a good song to accompany that moment and reflect what Nora was feeling at the time. And then we move on to our 7th place spot. With the song receiving 112 votes, we have A Brand New Day. This is the song that played during the episode 5 montage, where Team RWBY, Team Juniper were training with the rest of the Aesops, going on missions, and doing their day-to-day huntsman work. This one is a song literally about a brand new day, a new tomorrow, looking forward, how things have gone fairly poorly in the past. They've had a lot of struggles, but now that they are here, they are looking forward. It's a new day. Things are looking up. And then they kind of didn't after that episode, as, you know, episode 6 ended up with Tyrion, and then, you know, went into a worst case scenario, and so on and so forth. This volume definitely starts high and then goes to a low point, and the songs, as I mentioned already, definitely reflect this. But this song's position in the volume, being episode 5, was actually fairly well timed, considering it had a bit of both the negative aspect and positive aspect, though, you know, they were thinking moving from the negative into the positive. It was still kind of a good placement for it within the volume, for that part of the analysis at least. Moving on to our 6th place spot, though, receiving 190 votes, we have the song Touch the Sky. This is the one that played during episode 3, the Aesops, where Team RWBY was doing their new landing sequence and doing their new landing strategies. This song is a very positive one, about things looking up, and it's quite fitting for the scene where Team RWBY is actually falling down. But considering the episode that they're in, Team RWBY has just met the Aesops, are working together with them, have found new people that they thought they could trust at the time, as well as new mentors in the Aesops, and a new goal to work towards, renewing the communications for all of Remnant. Things were looking up very much so at that time, and Team RWBY was very hopeful. A great song to accompany it. But then we move into the top 5, and each of these 5 songs will move on to the best songs in all of RWBY poll that will be starting in only a couple days. ways. And in our 5th place spot, with a bit of a jump in the votes, receiving 281 votes, we have the song Until the End. This is the song that played during Ozpin's speech at the end of Volume 7. This is a song about literally being here until the end, and I would imagine this is sung from Ozpin's perspective. So I think this is kind of hinting that Ozpin's not going to go away again, which would kind of make sense, as it would get kind of old if Ozpin was just disappearing whenever things got difficult, but Ozpin, I think, is going to stick around until the end, until things are finished. And I think this is what Ozpin is kind of promising to Oscar, at least I would feel from the lyrics of this song, but let me know your interpretation of it down in the comments below. And then in our 4th place spot, receiving 288 votes, we have the Volume 7 opening, Trust Love. This one is all about trusting love, literally, or at least trusting the bonds that you have with other people. A very hopeful song to start off the volume, just as the volume itself started off on a very high note, a very hopeful note, with them having a goal to work towards, and eventually led to the end of the volume where things kind of delved into, well, what our next song on this list is. In our 3rd place, with 301 votes, we have the song Fear. This is the one that is the ending theme to Volume 7. A great contrast to the opening theme, as, you know, with Trust Love, it was all hopeful, about trusting in the bonds between each other. And the song Fear is all about what a person will become under the influence of fear, relating very much to Ozpin's speech at the end of Volume 7, but even more so and a little bit foreboding that the song Fear is actually Oscar's theme song. I don't know really if that's going to bode very well for him in Volume 7, because it does look like he's possibly going to be kidnapped, that Salem's going to be targeting him, and we all know that Salem really likes the idea of Ozpin being dead, so, you know, this fear is certainly something that Oscar is going to feel moving forward in, well, Volume 8 and the RWBY series as a whole, but it's really, really foreboding that his theme song is just Fear. Still an excellent song to end off the volume, and an excellent contrast for this entire volume as a whole, contrasting Trust Love, and the way that this entire volume was structured, with the music, with the lyrics, and everything that took place within the volume, the scenery and the imagery that we saw is absolutely excellent, and I really have to give credit to everyone who worked on this. The singers, the songwriters, the writers of the show, the animators, everyone did an excellent job with this. And then we move to the top 2 songs of Volume 7, both of which earn their spot by quite a landslide, as our 2nd place on this list jumps all the way to 478 votes. We have the song War. This is the one that played during the fight between Team RWBY and the Aesops, and seems to be sung from kind of both of their perspectives. How neither of the groups are willing to back down, and how the Aesops really don't think that they could lose this fight. But given the situation that they were in, they were very emotional. Without leadership, without Ironwood or Clover being their good luck charm, they were at a bit of a disadvantage, with Team RWBY being a lot more level-headed and also not really needing the orders to function as much, but there was still a lot of things that went into that. I did a full fight analysis, I'll put that up there. An interesting tidbit about this song, though, one of the singers is actually Elm's voice actress. Something that I didn't know before researching for this video, but I loved seeing that little tie-in to the series. And then, of course, the number 1 spot on this list, receiving 531 votes, is the song Hero. This is the one that played during the fight between Ironwood and Watts, and it's honestly no surprise that it made it to the top spot on this list. The song was fantastic to accompany Ironwood fighting against Watts, and seems to be sung from Ironwood's perspective, how he's willing to risk everything to achieve his goals. That no matter what he has to sacrifice, he will not back down and keep pushing forward, and also contains a few references to Ironwood himself, referencing his semblance of metal as well as his weapons being due process. So these have been the 9 songs from Volume 7, and now we will move on to the top 5 scores of Volume 7. In our 5th place spot, receiving 60 votes, we have the episode 6 score, which is titled A Night Off. This is the episode that covered Robin's rally, and contained the songs Celebrate as well as Let's Get bit real, but this was definitely a turning point in the volume, and the score to accompany it kind of reflected that. Hopeful at the beginning and quite solemn by the end of it, what with Tyrion infiltrating the rally and the foreboding atmosphere when Penny was seemingly being blamed for it all. So no surprise that it reached number 5 on this list. And then in our 4th place spot, receiving 71 votes, we have the episode 3 score, titled The Ace Ops. This is the episode where we got to see the Ace Ops capabilities on display for the first time when they fought against the Petra Gigas, and Team RWBY was kind of enamored with him after that. But this episode, being a little bit more fast-paced, had a score to accompany it, and I'm glad to see one of the earlier episode scores make it this high on the list, as moving into our next 3, they're all the latter episodes of the volume, and won by quite the landslide as well, more than doubling the previous scores. As our 3rd place spot received 160 votes, which is the episode 13 score, The Enemy of Trust, the final episode of Volume 7 that contained Ozpin's speech, Salem arriving, and the foreboding atmosphere that followed everything that was happening in this episode. Oscar being shot, falling to his death, Ozpin's return, Neo receiving the relic, giving it to Cinder, Cinder going to take it to Salem, etc. All of the things that happened in this episode had a foreboding atmosphere and a score to accompany it. No surprise why this one is one of the favorites. And then in our 2nd place spot, receiving 166 votes, we have the episode 11 score, Gravity. Of course, this is the one that contained the fight between Ironwood and Watts, as well as Salem's appearance in front of, well, everyone, Team RWBY, Ironwood, and was the breaking point for Ironwood when he finally decided that his way was the only way and anyone who opposed him is now disposable. Put out the arrest warrant for Team RWBY and Juniper and ended up shooting Oscar by, episode 13. So yeah, this score, it's no surprise why it made it this high on the list either. But the one that took the top spot on this list, receiving 175 votes, was the episode 12 score, which is titled With Friends Like These. Team RWBY versus the Ace Ops, and of course, Crow, Clover, and Tyrion. That fight as well. A lot of fast-paced action in this episode, as well as some very sad moments, so no surprise that this score was the most impactful of the volume as voted for by all of you. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this music poll, and now that we have completed the polls for all 7 volumes of RWBY thus far, we will have the best songs in all of RWBY poll starting in a couple days that will contain the top 5 songs from each volume, and all of you will have the chance to vote for your top 5 songs out of all of those selected, and after a week we will see which ones stand atop the RWBY series as a whole. And then we get to do it all again next summer when we have the songs for Volume 8. So, a lot to look forward to. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys thought of the results of this poll. Were they what you expected? Do you think that some songs should have ranked higher than others? Do you think that some should have ranked lower? Were the ones that you voted for the ones that took the top spots? I look forward to hearing your comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, want to see more like it, want to see more RWBY theories, RWBY analysis, all the Volume 8 analysis and theories that will be coming, make sure to subscribe, join the Guild of the Eternal Flame, tweet me at PhoenixKnight7, join our Discord server as well, linked in the description below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.